You are listening to The Manual with Mike Sheridan. The opinions expressed here are purely that of the individuals in question and can sometimes be of an adult nature.
Owen Roddy, it's an absolute pleasure, finally, to have you come in and do The Manual.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man.
Obviously, we know each other a few years now at this point.
Yeah,
and we'll get into all that. This is about you.
Yeah, no problem. Fire away. What do you want to know?
But this is obviously anybody who's wondering what this is here in the corner, what this poster is here in the corner. And I've talked about it with any of the fighters, any of the MMA people. Yeah, and we've had on the podcast before. Is that's you and that poster for Barbaric Gentleman?
I know. I looked kind of deformed looking in it, but. It's all good.
At least you can see you.
Yeah. I'm a bit Alex kind of stole the show on that picture, didn't he?
He did. I think he was very popular that night with the ladies, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something in that picture.
I remember John Kavanagh coming over to me after the fight. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's a documentary that yourself and myself made together. Yeah. Where you coached me for a few months ago in fight, and 2.5 years later, I'm still training.
You're still training. Fantastic. It's amazing, yeah.
But I remember John Kavanagh coming over to me after the fight, and he shook my hand and he goes, "Tough, you know." He said, "He's probably better looking than you, you know. He's better, but you really put in a good." I was like, at least give me that. Come on, like,
give me something. Give
me something.
And it was a fantastic experience. I really enjoyed that documentary. And it really it showed everything about MMA and how tough it is and what it takes to actually get in there and fight.
It's hard to believe it was over. Like the fight was over 2 years.
Yeah,
ago.
Yeah. 2 years ago in what?
The fight was September 14th. Yeah. That date was like embedded onto my mind.
God, man. Yeah, 2 years. Time flies, all right.
But it's been a man. I said the same thing to Ash Daly when we had her on. Obviously, you train with SBG.
Yeah.
It's been a mad 2 years for anybody at the professional level, and even the guys that have kind of moved into the professional level or those realms in SBG. So the past 2.5 years for you in particular, because you were in Sweden.
Yeah,
when Conor
made his debut,
Conor made his debut. But for anybody that doesn't know, and people that are maybe new to the sport, because there's so many people that are like just gravitating towards MMA now. And
exactly. It's for 80% of the people now, they've really only got into it since Conor made his debut in the UFC.
You were fighting a professional fighter for, was it 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years now, maybe 13. It's getting on. Yeah, so I made my pro debut. Well, there was no amateur scene when I started, so I went straight.
That's insane. There was was straight to professional.
Just straight into a ring and fight, But that was 12, 13 years ago now. Yeah.
13 years ago.
Yeah, in front of
you don't look at all.
Yeah, getting on. Yeah, getting on. But that was 13 years ago in front of maybe 40 people in a pub somewhere. I don't know. It was a crazy scene. You had to pay your own way. Like I think I remember after my second or third fight, I got paid £50 to fight, and it cost me about 70 to get up and get back. I was in debt coming back, but I done it for the fun of it,
You're without a shadow of a doubt one of the best combat athletes that this country's ever produced, and I think this is the thing that I think is really lovely now, because people are starting to go back, and Ariel Helwani and all these major MMA journalists are all going back and looking at your career
having a look at where because I was one of the first down, and I did fight at a reasonably high level, and I fought over in Europe a bit as well, so before a lot of people were doing it, so kind of, some people would say I kind of paved the way, but
I don't think some people would say. I think anybody who's involved in the sport, and anybody I've spoken to who's in the UFC now, I think pretty much says that. Yeah.
As I said, I'm happy where I started and where I am now, so that's a good thing.
You're a few months younger than me, like. I always think that because you're retired now.
Yeah.
I started 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, you could start at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, your goal is just to have a few fights and just enjoy the sport and stuff like that.
I don't know, I might start calling out CM Punk.
Yeah, jump in line. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people looking to fight CM Punk, but so you know what I mean. Your goal is just to maybe have 1 or 2 more fights, and then you got the young 17, 18-year-old kids that are, their goal is to be in the UFC, and because Conor broke all the barriers and smashed through them all and opened the doors for everybody, the path is set now. There is a clear way of getting there. When I was doing it, you know,
There was yourself, John Kavanagh, like very early days, Andy Ryan.
Yeah, Andy Ryan, the really, really old school, like, you know what I mean, all training together. You know, all of them have their own gyms now, but they were all together in the one gym in the.
So that's all there was.
Yeah, that was it. Everyone was just trying to learn and trying to.
What's the goal then when you start training and you start, like, because I know you played football and you were very good at football. You played to a decent level, like.
I mean, yeah, I was okay. Yeah, I played for Ballymun United for a good few years. I enjoyed it, and then I just kind of got bored of it. Like we'd won the league, I think about 7 years in a row. You know, and I just kind of got tired of it. I was always interested in martial arts. My brother had done martial arts. I'd watched every Bruce Lee film, every Van Damme film.
It's mad how many people start with that. And people that are like in the UFC now, or that are champions in other organisations, that are like, you know, look at Van Damme, or they look at these guys, because anybody around our age was the same.
Yeah, I mean, that was the
American Ninja.
The classic 80s was just, you know, all martial arts crazy films. Now, when you go back and look at them now, they're not so good. Well, yeah. So I don't actually watch them anymore because they'll ruin my memories of them. But yeah, I think everybody kind of, you know, that got into MMA, especially kind of that's still in at my age, they all started kind of the same way, watching those martial arts movies, and then typically got to see early UFC on VHS. Found it somewhere. This is basically what I did. I got a lend of UFC 1.
So this is 2002, maybe 2003.
Yeah, and I watched it and I seen Hoist Gracie do his thing, and I wanted to find out where I could do it.
Yeah.
And I rang every martial arts club. They all told me they were doing street defense and, you know, ultimate survival and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then I actually seen Andy Ryan doing arm bars on people in my school, and I walked in. I was like, oh, that's that.
And he was in the army, was he? That's where.
Andy was in the army, but he was teaching like judo and jiu-jitsu in transition year in the comprehensive school in Ballymun, and I stuck my head in and I was like, oh yeah, that's that MMA, that's that UFC stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we all kind of trained down in Colesta, and that's when I went down, and you know, the who's who of MMA was there: John Kavanagh, Dave Jones, Dave Roach, Andy Ryan, John Donnelly, all the really old school, all the originals, like, you know, all training together, killing each other.
Like, where's your head at right then? Are you doing this recreationally like you were with football? It's like you're waiting on Alex Ferguson to come in and pick you up. Or are you, because this is 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
So I think the first season of The Ultimate Fighter was 2005.
Right, yeah.
And it was kind of, I mean, it was around then, but it didn't really take off until that Forrest Griffin Stephen Connor fight. Yeah,
so, but I knew that you could make money out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew.
Even at a local level.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like, there was nothing really in Ireland at that stage. There was literally nothing. It was the UK scene. And some of the top UK fighters were getting like a good bit of money. Like, they were getting a couple of grand. And I was like, Jesus, you know, I could get good. Like, I knew that we were the first to do it. So I knew I was ahead of the game anyway. And I picked it up fairly quick. I was getting good fairly fast, so I was like, I could make money out of this. And then the UFC, I started to see the UFC, and I was like, Jesus, you know, maybe when if they ever do come over, you know, I might get a shot. And obviously, they didn't have my weight class. Obviously, when they came over in UFC 93. So obviously I couldn't have got a shot at that point, but I always had a belief that I would eventually get a run out, but you know, my path went a different way. So
I'm gonna go into the coaching, and I know firsthand what a phenomenal coach you are.
Well, I try.
But there's a documentary that the guys in Severe MMA made with you and with Paddy Houlihan called 10,000 Hours. And for anybody, I urge everybody, and I've said it with Pete and I've said it with Ash Daly, absolutely look this up on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
But that just illustrates the following that you had at the time. And I remember P.T. Carroll talks about it as well, where he's like, you don't realise people would just mobilise and go to wherever you were fighting.
Yeah. I had a fantastic fan base, even for...
Was it the Ballymun thing? Was it?
In Ballymun, you know, if you're doing all right, people will get behind you, like, you know what I mean? And that's what I noticed. I mean, I was doing good, and and everybody just wanted to see me do well, and everybody got behind me, and you know, they're a loud crowd, so they got very vocal, and they really got behind you, and I loved it. I embraced it, and I took it on board. Like,
I just pulled you around the corner, haven't getting recognised by somebody else at the spar there.
No, he was asking me if I changed, but I know, yeah. So, but yeah, so that it was amazing back in the day. Like, I brought. Like, I mean, I was a big ticket seller as well. Like, I made most of my posts on ticket sales more than anything else.
So many of the old school guys say that, and when I say old school, you're talking guys in their early 30s. Like, nuts. But so many of the old school guys say that they make their money from selling the tickets. That's the way it was for you.
That was me. Yeah, I would sell maybe 200 tickets, 250 tickets.
I don't even know 200 people.
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, most of them probably wanted to see me get killed. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I still sold the tickets and still made money off it. But yeah, so that was it. You know, the Porsche wasn't great. Porsche started getting all right towards the end of my career, but I always made a good few bob on tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And you transitioned to coaching.
Yeah.
And you were a coach from fairly early on.
I was a coach. Yeah, I was. I ran the kids program in SBG, and I still do. And I'm running that maybe 10 years, 11 years as well. You know,
there's been 3 SBGs, main SBGs.
Yeah, there's been
from where they are now with that big, that big.
There's been 4. There's been I was teaching. I was teaching in the shed as well, the infamous shed. I taught kids classes there. Then
that place needs to become part. You know, we have the Irish Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
it needs to be like a plaque or something.
I mean, I seen John done a little piece floating around all the old gyms, and you know, even just thinking of the shed, like you can still kind of smell, because it was stinking. It was in bits.
There's no air conditioning in the shed.
No, there's nothing in it. But yeah, that's where it all started. And I started teaching there. Then I was teaching in Harold's Cross and Rathfarnham. Then we went out to Rathcoole. And then we were in a school in Crumlin. I was teaching there as well.
That'd be really. I live in Crumlin now. If you're around there, that'd be great now. I'm have to go all the way over to Finglas.
Yeah. Times have changed. But then we moved back to the Longmore, which we settled there for a bit, which was very good.
That's a cool gym. It was a very cool gym.
Yeah, it was grimy. It was good. Like, and now we're blessed with the facility we have now in SBG. And
at what point do you realise you're good at that? Because there's some lads who, they're maybe not good communicators.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember the first time being dropped off at one of your classes and just hearing how you spoke to the lads, because it's terrifying getting dropped off. Robbie, my brother, dropped me off like he was dropping me off to the first day of school.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to, that first day in MMA in an MMA gym is hard.
But you obviously get people coming and going all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, you're used to that interaction. But I watched you for the first 5 minutes and just how you were communicating with the lads and how you held. Like they were listening to every single thing that you said.
Yeah.
And that, like, so a huge part of coaching it is being able to communicate articulately and properly, like, and you just obviously haven't had an knack from that from early on.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I basically just copied what John did, what John Kavanagh did, and you know, he's the best in the game. So training under him for so many years, I just watched everything he did and I just pretty much copied it. And then obviously when you're teaching kids, the only real difference is you have to be very enthusiastic. You got to be you got to act like a child every now and then just to kind of stay on the same page as them. So I picked it up fairly quick, you know what I mean? And I enjoyed it. The one thing you get from coaching is if you're teaching somebody and you see within 2 or 3 weeks they get that move down and they apply it in live sparring, you get a great buzz out of that. And once I start, and when you do it with kids, and you see them doing it, you get even more of a buzz out of it. So I kind of got hooked on that. And I mean, I wasn't really doing anything else other than that. I was walking and driving a forklift. You know, I hated it. And
at what point did you just move into the centre there? Just in case, I haven't got headphones.
Yeah.
But at what point did you? When these kids are kind of coming through, and of what age it is, you're talking off the bat?
Well, when I started, I think it was about 8 or 9. 8 or 9. And then we teach a lot earlier now. But
so is there kids there who are 8 or 9 when you started that are still training?
Yeah.
Is there many? That must be.
There's not that many, but there is. Yeah, there is a few that are still doing it. Like, you know, it's great. But what I do notice is, you know, they come up through the kids program and they've got a fantastic base for when they go into the adult program. And a lot of the kids that came through my program are doing fantastic now at an adult level. So I'm happy with that. It means I'm doing something right, and plus obviously they're doing something right as well. You know, another thing as well, the kids are very hungry. Like I don't let the kids spar too hard, or everything is done kind of on a fun level. It's not too physical. So when they're allowed go a bit hard in the adults program, they're very hungry, and when you let them loose, they go at it, like, you know what I mean. So when they move on to the adults, they're very motivated, and they pick it up fairly quick as well.
And what's the difference for you then when you from going, because you work with a lot of pro fighters as well, obviously Conor McGregor, and we'll get to that. And Conor was in your corner.
Yeah.
If you watch there's a couple of videos knocking around on YouTube with your career highlights.
Yeah.
And they're insane. I remember when I first went to you for you to start coaching me, I knew who you were beforehand. Obviously, anybody who knew MMA didn't. Everybody knew who you were. But watching the highlight video was like, it's nuts. It's like an action film just condensed into like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I had some great fights, and everyone knows me. I had that left knee that would finish most people.
Roddy knee.
Yeah, so. And I was good on the ground. I was good everywhere. I was one of the early fighters that had a good, I had a broad game. I was a good wrestler. I was a good jiu-jitsu guy. I was a good striker, and I had finishes everywhere. And I could finish people anywhere, And I was kind of one of the early guys that had that. A lot of the guys were very one-dimensional when I was coming through. And
so you might somebody's a good boxer, and John or you was teaching them a little bit about jiu-jitsu, or
exactly. And but me, I was complete. I think, you know what I mean. Now, today's standards are a lot higher, but back then I felt I was a complete fighter, and I was good everywhere, And I think that's what stood to me. That's why when you look at the highlight, and obviously you can always make yourself look good in a highlight video, You always pick the best spots, but I had some great finishes with the knee, I had some finishes with my hands, submissions, everything. So it was exciting,
And at what point then did you decide to open up your own gym? And was that a conversation you had with John? Did he encourage you?
Yeah. Like John always thought I was a very good coach, and he always thought that was where my career would eventually go. So. It's
like football when you see certain players,
can't do it forever.
Good communicators, they're captain of the team, and they're going to be good managers.
Yeah, exactly. And he said that to me kind of early on. He did say, I can see your career you're going to be a coach. That's it, and you're going to be a good coach. And I was teaching for a while, and I was fighting, and I just felt like there was one or two clubs over the north side. There wasn't that many clubs, and I just felt. Where I lived, there was nothing, and I felt like I could jump in there, and I could get a good team together, and so I did it. And there was no looking back after that. That's 4 years ago now, I think, maybe more, 4 or 5 years ago.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I love coaching, and as I said, when I gave up the fight myself, I got more motivated as a coach, and I got to put more time into my guys.
Was it difficult because you see, and you're saying that Paddy Houlihan does that now, where he fights any coaches. He's like he coaches all the time, and he's getting his own SBG now as well. He's going to open up his own affiliate gym. Is that right? Under the guidance of John.
Yeah, he's going to open up SBG in Tallaght.
And is it difficult to balance because you're in a fight camp, which is incredibly intense? It's twice a day.
Yeah.
Conditioning on top of everything else. Is it difficult then to coach?
Yeah, it's very difficult. When you're in fight camp, you're selfish, and nothing comes into your mind other than your fight, and it's 24/7 and it's non-stop. So when I was fighting, my guys were suffering, because I wasn't giving them the attention. I was getting my rounds in. I was being selfish. I was getting as much as I could out of the training, and I was pretty much using them as my sparring partners, and then I was an SBJ, and I was, and that's what happens. And same with your family life as well. Yeah. You become a different person, and you've dealt with this yourself, and I've said it to your girlfriend as well, that he's going to change. You do change when you know you're fighting in 6 weeks. It's the only thing that's on your mind. Was
it nerves? Was it anxiety, or was it a case of wanting to get in there? Because any fight you had, it never looked like nerves.
Yeah, it's always nervousness as well. I don't actually say nervousness. I say excitement. It's the exact same feeling.
You
it's
you want to get in there and do it. You don't, the lead up to it and the camp and everything else.
You can call it so many things, fear, anxiety, you know. I just put it down to excitement, but it's the exact same feeling. It's that uneasy feeling in your stomach.
Is that how you looked at the fights, and did you look at the 6 or 8 week camp to finally get to kind of go in and let it go?
Yeah, I just get to go in and do it. Like, I just wanted to get in, and for me, I just wanted to prove myself. Like, I was more, that was it. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could compete with people, like, and that's. And I compete every day for 8 weeks against my sparring partners, against my teammates, and then when I get on fight, I would always compete to the best of my ability, and I would leave it all in there, you know. And I think I always did that, and that's why I'm happy with my career, because I never felt like I didn't do enough in my fights. I always gave it everything I had. Yeah. You know.
And I suppose it's been to go back to the start. What we kind of said at the start was that it kind of really kicked off. It was UFC 93 that you were there. You cornered Tom.
I cornered Tom. Yeah.
I was at that. That was an insane experience as it was.
It was amazing. Yeah.
But and like this is the kind of it's the kind of default setting when I talk to anybody anything to do with Irish MMA. When I interviewed them, it's like 2.5 years ago, boom, it just went nuts. And when I first met you just been over in Sweden. You just cornered Conor, who was on the undercard of that fight. Yeah. And Conor, obviously, as we said, he previously cornered you, so that relationship was already there.
Yeah, I mean, we were sparring partners for a long time when I was still fighting.
I would love to watch those sparring sessions. Yeah, better than most pay-per-views nowadays, I'd say. It
was basically me trying not to get punched and trying to take him down. I got away with taking him down because he wasn't as good as a wrestler and on the ground as he is now. So I wouldn't. I mean, I did stand with him a couple of times early on, and he was, even back then, he was so good. Like, you know, his timing when it came to striking was just leaps and bounds ahead of anyone I've ever sparred. Like, you know, so I would only strike to enter into the clinch and get the takedown.
So could you spot that from early enough?
Yeah. I remember that from the first spar. I remember that.
Because had he boxed previously?
He'd boxed a bit in Crumlin, I just remember having 1 or 2 exchanges with him and going, this is not where I'm supposed to be fighting him. And I always thought I was an intelligent fighter, so I was like, don't hang around here. Let's get some jiu-jitsu going here quickly. Yeah.
And for anybody, I suppose, who doesn't realise when it started, and let's go back, it started in Sweden. Yeah. To some degree, to the level that it's at now. Yeah, that spark kind of went in Sweden, and it went with Conor knocking out Marcus Brimage, and shouting that Dana 60Gs.
60G baby.
Did you at any point during that experience go, right, this is it now? This lad's just going to blow up. Like, look at John and
yeah. I knew before he got to. I mean, I think a lot of the diehards knew. That's why there was that outcry for Conor to be signed up, because he was.
Because that's how it happened. The social media.
Yeah. They got behind him and they annoyed Dana. Like, they just gave Dana hell until he gave him that shot. But Conor had proved it time and time again in his Cage Warriors days, and even in his Cage Contender days and all his early fights. Like, I mean, Conor fought on the undercard of one of my fights for his first fight, and he knocked the guy out standing up and knocked him unconscious, knocked him back into consciousness, and your man was all over the place. And I think he had the ref by accident as well. But, so you know what I mean? He blitzed the guy. Yeah. And that was his debut. And he was super cool back then. He came in like, 10 minutes before he was supposed to fight. Like, we were panicking. Where is Conor? Like, you know what I mean? He came in. That was the story. Jumped into the ring, knocked your man out, just jumped out, and it was just so cool. Like, you know what I mean? So I could see early on, and I'd always said that Conor, like, that I believed that he was gonna do big things, like, you know.
And you Gunnar Nelson as well. He was coming back and forth. I remember you told me those stories before about, and I couldn't believe it, because I still get nervous watching the UFC. Like, because you get that feeling in your stomach of that kind of pre-fighting when you see the cage. And you're saying stuff like Conor is so cool in the cage, and somebody like Gunnar Nelson was having naps.
Yeah, he would sleep backstage. He would sleep like up onto like half an hour or so before he'd fight, and then he'd go up and do a little Gunny's warm up wouldn't be too, too mobile, a little stretch, maybe a yawn or two, and then that'd be that, like. But even Gunny, like, I mean, because I went over and helped John teach the 4 seminar in Iceland, and Gunny was a kid. Gunny was like 15 or 16 or something.
He was just gifted.
He didn't do that, and he was terrible back then. He was training with a guy called Arnie Isaacson, and guys from that would have been watching the scene back in the day. Arnie was a beast of a fighter as well back in the day, and Arnie was killing Gunny, like doing ground and pound drills, and he was punching the face off Gunny. And then Gunny was training, and a year or two later he came over, and he got really good. And then he just slowly built from there. Then, he became the beast that he is today,
Is that what it is, you think? Because I know John hates that word gifted, because it is a huge part of his hard work. But is there something about the best guys in the history of MMA and in the short history of the UFC, when you look at them, the best guys, in my opinion, have been the guys who don't look like they're breaking a sweat in there. Guys like Conor, guys like Gunny, guys like Anderson Silva, who, they're not brawlers, they're careful, and is there something in that?
Well, I think that only comes when you're competent in every area. Like I say this to my guys, like the reason Gunny, Conor, mainly Conor, he doesn't get tired, Gunny doesn't get tired really either, is because no matter what their opponent puts to them, they've spent hundreds and thousands of hours in that position. And when you spend that amount of time in that position, you become comfortable there. It's when somebody puts you in a position where you're a little bit unsure of what to do, then you substitute the lack of knowledge, you put effort in, and effort is what takes energy, and then that's what gets you tired. But when you know exactly what you're doing in every area, then you don't burn energy, and that's what happens. And that's why the guys like Conor, Gunny, Anderson, all these guys, that's why they can do this all day, because no matter what's put to them, they have an answer for it.
And you were Conor's coaching this season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And you were in Vegas. You were in Vegas pretty much for a huge part.
Yeah, pretty much for the summer. Yeah.
Conor's camp. You went back across to the fight, and you were back across then to shoot The Ultimate Fighter. Season 22, The Ultimate Fighter. So at this point now, we're 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
So. And at the start, Conor was getting a bit of criticism, I think, from Faber and stuff. There's always going to be that back and forth, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to be trying to find something to get at each other.
Get under each other's skin. But at the start, when you see with elite athletes who become coaches, and Conor's obviously still very much not even in his prime. I still think he's getting there, and he's already incredible. Like, But there's a point there where you think maybe in the second episode you go, Jesus, like, can he coach as well as he can fight?
Yeah.
And then you look at the last episode, 4 episodes in, because he'd gotten a bit of shit on Twitter, and he'd gotten a bit of shit from some of the MMA community fanboys on forums and stuff. Yeah. And then that last, because it's funny what you said to that last episode, where you can hear about yourself and Conor giving you instructions, and the guy you're giving the instructions to is just following them to an absolute T, and they're very simple.
Clear instructions.
And it's the same thing over and over again.
That jab cross hook he was landing, and Martin was I will say, Martin out of them all, I mean, the first fight, Franz and Ryan Hall,
Hall's very good as well.
Yeah, Ryan Hall is a fantastic jiu-jitsu guy, and he's very, very tricky, and we were worried about that. You know what I mean? We had a feeling that Ryan was going to dive on that leg, and it was the fact that Franz just was a little bit unsure of how to react. We went over a lot of defense, but I mean, if you've got 5 days to go over a bit of defense, and a guy has been doing that, like that 50-50 guard for maybe 8 to 10 years. 5 days is not going to do much. And what happened, Franz, he did block well, but it was the initial fear of seeing himself in that position. He seen himself in that position, he was like, oh shit, I'm here. And by the time he tried to react, the position was over, And then obviously Sasha, excuse me.
That's when Conor got really frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha just...
And that's the stuff he took criticism for, because he was given clear instructions and Sasha wasn't.
Yeah, and he didn't take them. Sasha fell in love with that triangle. I mean, I remember even speaking very clearly to Sasha in that 3rd round. I said, Sasha, you can still win it. Just don't go to the ground. And he shot. So that was very frustrating for us all. I mean, we talked to Sasha after it, and he admitted, he says, I fell in love with, I thought I could finish him on the ground, and maybe he wasn't that confident in us.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes time to build a relationship between a coach and a student.
Talking to Asha and talking to Carl Penrith about been in the house because you're removed from your camps.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not your normal camp. You're not the same fighter there than you are when you're training out your normal.
Exactly,
camp,
and then you have these new guys, these new coaches coming in. And for a fighter, you know, it takes time to build a relationship, and
that's not a reflection of the fighters as much as people think it is. It's a very condensed period.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't. He chose not to do what we asked, and you know, it didn't work out for him. But Martin did, and it worked out very well. Yeah, he trusted us. We had a good game plan for him, and he stuck to it. He executed it, and he was very patient. He was very calm. Martin is a fantastic fighter, like, you know, and he's got a good head as well. He's got a good brain for the game as well. He was very calm in there. He knew when to move and when not to move, and he listened to the instructions, and you know, he came out with the win.
And Conor's been very honest, I think, when he's speaking about you know, the coaching. He didn't really want to do the Ultimate Fighter at first.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. I mean given the press that he did, the change of opponents. From Aldo to Mendez, and then to kind of do that tour again.
And you're talking, he started filming like 3 days after that fight.
Because he's still, you know? People were like, why is he wearing the sunglasses? Well, like he was in a fight with Chad Mendez 3 days ago, in a cage. So,
but so he at first he didn't really want to get too invested in it, but the show sucks you in. Yeah. We were all kind of saying like, we'll do our best for all the fighters and stuff like that. But then you start to get a relationship with the guys. You start to like the guys, and then you want the best for them, and Conor got sucked in. Yeah. And you know, and you can see now.
You see a transition then with him kind of becoming a coach a little bit.
Yeah. He started,
and he said himself, no, you know, like the guys, you know, and he's dead right, I think, in a lot of ways, where he's saying, no, look, you know, I'm not here to baby anybody. Champions don't need to be babied. Like, you know, you're making no mistake about it. You're your own fighters. This isn't your camp. Yeah. This is a show you're making. Get in it for yourself.
Yeah, but I think we all came to the understanding that it's very hard to change somebody in 6 weeks. You know, so
people don't realise that watching at home.
Yeah, we all, the European team came in with the game plan to keep the guys fit, keep them injury free. And you know, give them pointers, not to change anything, to look at what they had, and you know, help them improve what they had instead of changing stuff, you know, because you know, 6 weeks. If I go in and I show you something now, and you're fighting next week,
it's difficult to retain that.
It's going to be, you know, it's going to be very hard for you to do that. But if we go in and see what you do and help you improve a little bit on what you do, I think that's a better approach than the other one, and that's what we went in with. And you know, I think it worked out for most parts, you know.
And I want you to tell me if you think something is a coincidence. I already know the answer to this one, I think, right? But in all the fights that Conor's had in the UFC, and he's knocked out everybody, or he's finished everybody bar one. Yeah. So he didn't finish Max Holloway because he got injured during that fight in Boston. Yeah. That was the only fight you weren't in his corner for. Yeah. Coincidence?
I don't know about that. I'm like his Lucky Charms. He usually rubs my head before he goes into fight. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he messed himself up, you know. This is it. I just think. And you gotta give Max a bit of credit as well. He took some big shots off Conor. Shots that everybody drops on. But I think Max fought a very smart fight. He ran. You know, he ran. You don't want to stand in front of Conor because you're going to absorb everything in all the shots. Where Max was always on the back foot, so a lot of the power was dissipated a little bit. But he was getting mauled as well, Max, and Conor changed it up because he messed up his knee and turned it into a bit of a grappling match.
So what's it like then for you? Is there any difference? Because I've been backstage with you at events. You've coached me on a fight. Yeah. Is it the same? Is it similar? Obviously, you know, you're talking elite, you're talking amateur. Yeah. But it's the process for you the same when you're backstage and you're coaching. Yeah. You're with John or you're with whoever, or you might be one of your guys fighting. Yeah. You're sharpening up the hands with the pads. Yeah.
We just want them to go out loose and confident. That's it. The pads, the pads. Everyone likes to hit pads just before they go out and fight because you can hit hard. you feel good, you're catching shots. It builds your confidence, like, you know, and allows you to hit full on, like, you know what I mean. Where if you're sparring with your partner, you can't really go full on. You can throw hard.
You don't want to get into a fight.
Yeah, but you don't want to knock your training partner out. But you can hit that pad as hard as you want. So that's what we do. We rotate between kind of lightish rounds, a round on the pads, and maybe a little bit of wrestling. And I do the exact same. We do the exact same stuff with Conor as we would do with if it was you. I mean, you've done exactly the same, pretty much the same identical warm up as what I would do with anybody, you know. And
this you've been called, many incredible things. Most recently for your coaching.
Yeah.
But one of the best padmen around, one of the best padmen in Europe, one of the best padmen in the world. That's been thrown around now.
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah,
because it is, and I don't think people realise when you try and hold pads for somebody. Wherever about hitting them, when you try and hold pads for somebody, and I've tried to do it with some of the lads, it's an art form.
Yeah,
especially
I think
when you're going for somebody as quick as Conor or some of these elite guys.
Yeah.
And that's obviously just a small part of the coaching that you do. But
yeah,
it really is an art form, and you can get good at it. But
I've done it. Well. I've padded a lot of people, like, you know, and yeah, I think I get a lot of credit for being able to give guys shots that work for them. I don't like to change anybody. I like to help people improve what they have, like, you know what I mean. And I would hold pads for Conor, but I would hold pads totally different for yourself or for like the guys, any of the lads in Primal or any of the guys on Tough. Like, I did get a lot of the guys came over to me and, you know, were very complimentary on how I held pads for them in Tough as well, because, you know, I would do stuff specific to them, stuff specific to their style, and I catch their shots very quick. You know,
that's what people say about Freddie Roach.
Yeah,
people say the same thing about Freddie Roach. He's Manny Pacquiao's coach, obviously.
Yeah.
And how he would hold the pads. And I remember you saying that to me, and then you would hold them just about.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's things about holding pads, like holding them very close to the chin, because you got to be accurate, and you got to focus those shots to the vital areas. You know what I mean? Another couple of things that we do is we don't really hold pads out to catch kicks anymore. Out here, we hold them on the head, because that's the target you're hitting. You know what I mean? Where the range is different. If I'm holding a pad out, you see some traditional martial arts club holding a pad out here in front, but that's not where the opponent's head is.
Yeah.
So I'll hold them, and I'll take them on the I'll take them on the neck. Like, as I said, I was holding pads earlier on, and Conor's throwing spinning capoeira kicks and catching me on the neck. You know, but, you know, that's what it takes. You know what I mean?
You've been in. I'd love to count the amount of videos that you popped up in, TV shows that you popped up in.
Yeah.
It's because it's you warming up. It's you warming up Conor or somebody other SBG lads backstage.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, Conor throwing that back spinning kick or something and catching you square. But that's a small part, I think.
It's what's been in the spotlight has been the pads. Like, I mean,
because he's so slick on the pads, and you're so slick at holding the pads. It just it looks great.
Exactly, and you know, that's obviously it's because I'm holding pads for Conor. That's what gets the attention. You know what I mean? But I mean, even you'll see, you might see a bit of it in Tough 22, but I get a lot more involved than just pads. I move around with a lot of the guys.
You're a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a professional fighter for the past 13 years. You know, I've been a regional champion and all. Back in the day, it was a big thing. You know, not so much now, but you know, I'm decent, I think. You know what I mean? I'm good. You know,
been able to adapt. And you know, with coaching in general and whoever it is, and you said it there earlier on. It's been able to adapt. I think that's a key in any sport and any coaching and any form of man management or coaching. You're able to adapt to certain people and see their flaws. Exactly. And see what they can do really well and just kind of enhance that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the best thing, because especially some of the guys we get, like, I mean, if I get a Thai boxer that's done 15 years Thai boxing, and I tell him to bounce around like Mayweather, it's not going to work for him. So, but if I give him, you know, stuff that suits his style, then he's going to be more confident, and he's going to trust me a little bit more, because I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not going to.
You're respecting what he can do.
I'm not trying to change him. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to enhance it.
Get the best version of him that you
exactly, and I think I do that well, and I do that well not only on the pads but in every aspect of coaching. I think I can bring the best out of people, and I can fine tune what they do well, and maybe just to make it a little bit better.
And how has the adjustment been for you and for Kelly and for the kids? Because I know we spoke there. You spent the summer going back and forth from Vegas. You've travelled all over the world now. As a fighter, but most recently as a coach, and you're recognisable now. Like whether you realise it or not, you're too humble to say anything. You are, and you know you're kind of associated with the explosion of Irish MMA, as you should be. How has the adjustment been to that? Because Ballymun and North Dublin is one thing. It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy it, and I'm trying to make the most of it because it's not going to last forever. You know.
I think it's going to last a while though. I think it's only the beginning still.
Yeah. Well, as I said, like I just gotta, as I say, you gotta jump on the train when it's going. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to keep things going while I'm in the spotlight, trying to make the most out of it. Trying to do the best for my guys in Primal, and I'm soon to be SBG Charlestown.
SBG
you know what I mean? Yeah.
So
we're rebranding the club. Yeah. We're going to take the name SBG, and we're going to rebrand the gym. We're going to expand. We're going to take downstairs and have an opening soon enough. So
and this is something that you've been looking to do for a while. Since I've known you, you've always wanted to expand. And what's changed recently? That's kind of
just the scene. It's got bigger.
You've so many guys coming in.
Yeah, I've a lot of students now, and just the popularity of MMA now. Everybody wants to do it, you know. So I think now is the right time to do it. My name is big enough at the moment now. People kind of know me for being a decent coach, and so you know what I mean. I think if I'm going to expand, I'll expand now. You know what I mean. And taking the SBG name is going to be fantastic. Yeah. You know.
Was that a tough decision to make?
No, not really. Like, I mean, I've always been known as an SBG affiliate.
Always been SBG. Yeah.
And I said it to John in passing a couple of times. Like, if we ever want to open up an SBG on the north side, I wouldn't mind taking the name. And John is just expanding now the whole franchise, so I think the timing is good now. So yeah, I'm happy to do that. So that'll come on board now in the next month or so. And
the gym is packed. I see the gym packed all the time.
Yeah.
But do you notice a difference then when kind of I suppose attendance spikes?
Yeah.
Do you notice it? Is it after the fights you get people coming up on the Monday?
Yeah.
And a lot more women coming in and training now as well, which is amazing.
But that's obviously
it's like Ash and Ronda Rousey.
Ash over here and Ronda Rousey internationally.
Stole your name off.
Yeah, she did rob my name. Now,
as I said, Rowdy.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't say it to her. She'd throw me on my head, I'd say. You know what I mean? But I think I don't know whether I'm the original, whether my name came out before hers. But I've been Rowdy for 14 years. We'll see about that, you know. But yeah, so yeah, the gym is booming at the moment. We've got a lot of girls doing it. We've got kids, teens, adults, and we're starting to get that crossover now. A lot of guys that have a good boxing background, have a good kickboxing and Thai boxing background, they see there's money to be made in MMA, and they're making that transition, which is good as well. And
do you see that with your guys now? Even the guys you've got a couple of lads. You've got like Curtis gone pro now. Ryan Curtis has gone pro now. And you see that with some of the guys where you're like, just this little push here, and you're going to start making some proper money.
I think we have a few guys. I'm very critical, and I've been saying this to the guys as well, even on the amateurs. I mean, I don't like to let my guys fight until I think they're good enough. And I mean, at the amateur scene, I should let them out a little bit earlier, because I think it's more to get them used to the experience than to have them super at that stage, you know. But so I'm being a little bit more lenient than letting the amateurs out. I think we have a couple of guys that are ready to go from amateur to pro maybe next year. Ryan has already done it, and he had a fantastic debut with a first round stoppage. He'll be up in November. We'll have a good few guys on Battle Zone in November, and a couple of guys in the UK. Of 3 or 4 guys fighting over in the UK. So the team is building. Obviously they didn't really get to fight too much throughout the summer because I was away, and I didn't feel comfortable letting them fight while I wasn't watching them. So they've been you know what I mean, they've been kind of taking it easy for the summer. Now they're looking to go.
Well, I think when you say away, you're over there kind of building relationships with guys in the UFC.
Yeah.
Who now know who you are.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like, you know what I mean. And I said that to the guys. I know I'm going, and I'll be away for a couple of months, but I'll be making connections over there, and you know what I mean. Hopefully down the line, the guys I'll know. You know what I mean. If I ever get a call, I'll have guys ready for it. You know, and I think that's huge to be able to. You need connections over there. You know what I mean. It was the fact that Conor was so good. That's how we got there. But 90% of it is you get a guy in, your gym gets recognised, and then they give you a call. You know what I mean. But I'm making those connections now. So
yeah, they know your name.
Exactly.
And you mentioned something to me before about Ariel Helwani. Who is the man when it comes to MMA journalism. Like he's the man. He's like, again, he's super young for somebody who's like
he's been around the scene a long time.
Much in journalism, like because the sport is still so young. But he recognised you, and
I was delighted with that. You know what I mean? That was more so than anything. He was like, "Owen, I really like your book. You're very good." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Oh, thanks, Ariel." I was delighted, because. Yeah, he is the man, like, you know what I mean? And for him to even recognise you or know who you are, then, I mean, you've been recognised on an international level. So, yeah, I was very excited about that, you know.
And what about the, I know because obviously you guys trained in the UFC gym for the Ultimate Fighter, but Conor prepped over there. He was
for his camp as well,
For his camp as well. Did many fighters come and go? Did you get to interact with many of the current UFC fighters or any of the old school guys?
Yeah, I met a good few fighters, but you know, for Conor's camp we were isolated.
Mac Mansion.
Yeah, we ate there, we went, we trained, we came home, and that's all we did, like, you know. And then for Tough, yeah, we met a few fighters coming in and out, and
you and Uriah seem to get on okay.
Yeah, I mean.
He seems like a nice bloke.
He's hard not to like, you know what I mean? Because at the first week or two, I was like, don't get too friendly with these guys, like, you know what I mean? They're the enemy and stuff. But all the American guys, they're nice guys, like they really are. Uriah he's hard not to like. He's a funny guy. He's a legend. You know, I said to Uriah, like, after, I didn't say it during the show. After the show, I said it. I says, Uriah, I'm a huge fan. Like, I mean, I've watched your career since the beginning. Like, you know, I didn't say it during the yoke. I was like, no. But after it, and he's a legend, and he's a fantastic fighter, and he's a nice guy as well. So.
And the back and forth between him and Conor is hilarious.
Very good. Conor always wins.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh Jesus, Conor always wins the exchanges. He's too quick for him, but Uriah just laughs it off. He doesn't care. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He doesn't take it to heart or anything like that. So it's a great contrast. And that's what's making the show so popular. Like, I think it is the back and forths between them, and there's a lot more.
The fights are incredible.
The fights, obviously,
best I've seen in the
man. I mean, Dana said it from day one. Like,
the fights to get into the house were unreal.
Yeah, the fights were amazing, but I think he was a bit disappointed with the last season. And he said, like, guys, you just better be here to fight, like, you know what I mean? That's what we want. And I think everybody took that on board, and they went in and they left for 99% of them left it in the cage, you know.
How happy were you to see Artem be brought back in?
I was delighted.
Artem Lobov.
Yeah, I was delighted. You know what I mean? Because
Russian hammer.
You know, when Conor asked me to do it, we knew Artem was at the making it to the first fight.
He's been over with Conor for longer than even you guys.
Yeah, Artem has been, with Conor, since Conor's been in the States, Artem has been there, and Artem's been training with him and whatnot. And when we knew Artem had got in and had the chance to fight, I was like, this is fantastic, because, at least a couple of us will be there that know him, and we'll be able to give him as much time as we can, you know what I mean? And
it's the best possible situation.
Yeah, it's fantastic for him. And then obviously, the first fight was, it was a tough fight against Meji.
That was a great fight.
Meji's a fantastic fighter as well. It was a fantastic fight, and you know what I mean? They probably should have tried to separate them and maybe build a fight in the house, but the two of them got matched up. It was a cracking fight. It should have went to a third round. It didn't. Maybe I think everybody feels it should have went to the third, but Adam got called back up, and which is amazing. And so I was over the moon, because when I first heard, I was back home, and you know what I mean, I was like, oh, he's fighting. And then when we got over there, we heard he lost. And I was like, oh, shit, man, that's a disaster. Because nobody deserves it more than Artem.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that's followed Artem's career, anyone that's followed his career, you know, Artem fought Dave Hill, which Dave Hill was like 9-2, and he's ranked number 3 in the UK and highly ranked in Europe. And Artem fought him, I think, on his debut, or he'd only 1 or 2 pro fights, and like he was like, yeah, I'll fight him, I don't care. And he'd done it with everybody. He'd never ducked anybody.
He never wanted to pad his record.
No.
He always wanted the toughest fights.
And he's had ups and downs, and I've talked to Artem, and after losses he's like, you know, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And he's jumped back on the horse, and then you're like, oh, lovely. This is where he's going to make his moment. And then he loses to Meji, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
An absolute war.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. And then he gets the call up again, and I'm like, this is it. This is your time, Artem, you know, to get in and do it. And, you know, it's, you know, I spent a lot of time with him over there, holding pads for him and moving around with him, and it was fantastic. Like, and you know, I want nothing more than the best for Artem. You know what I mean? He deserves it. So.
And what's next for you? Obviously, you've got Primal, which has changed to SBG Charlestown.
Yep.
That's going to expand.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, I'm seeing the numbers go up there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So are you looking, how far ahead are you looking into the future here in the coach? And you've got guys in the gym who aren't just, I think, really great fighters. You've got guys who are great coaches.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys there in particular who are very
definitely.
much of every bar of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I do look to, you know what I mean, I do look to expand eventually. Like, I'm expanding in my own facility, but maybe down the line I might look at a different location as well and try and build it from there. But obviously we'd have to talk to John and Matt about that. But I think they would trust, if I did want to expand, I think they would trust the people that I would believe in a position to run the place. I think their ability would be good enough to run any kind of SPG. But obviously that's down the line. At the moment, it's expand SBG Charlestown, and my goal now is to get a guy to the UFC, and then once I get him to the UFC, then eventually, hopefully, create UFC champion.
Do you have a time frame in your head? You don't have to say it, but do you have a time frame in your head of where you can go? Right, if maybe 18 months, maybe. Do you have a time frame in your head where you're like, okay, this is where I want to be, and this is where I want this guy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course I do. I know a couple of guys. I know the guys. I know Ryan. If I can get him 4 or 5 fights.
You broke my nose, by the way. To point that out.
I know. Yeah.
Down. Every time I look at a picture.
You wouldn't be the only person, like, you know what I mean.
Don't get for dropping my hands on.
He's. Yeah, there's no going. He'll go mad now when I say this, but he's like, I was trying to do a drill last night, and I was like, yeah, so stay in the pocket, and he's wellying the head at me. No gloves on, I'm only trying to show a drill. Cordas takes everything he's very competitive, you know what I mean?
There's a flyweight, like,
yeah,
83 kilos.
Yeah, he hits very hard. But I think, you know, we have a few guys that are ready to go pro. I think Cordas gets maybe 4 or 5 fights, good fights, and then he's close enough to get a call there. Yeah, maybe get a call up to like the flyweight division is open.
Yeah,
you know, it's wide open.
Nobody seems to be able to compete with Mighty Mouse.
No, I think Paddy's gonna get 1, maybe 2 more wins, and he'll get the call. Yeah. And he's gonna be a real test for Mighty Mouse. He hasn't had a bad fight,
Paddy. He lost the decision, but that was a war as well. He has not. I just
think he's a different frame, and he comes with a lot of different. A lot of stuff that Mighty Mouse hasn't dealt with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, there's nothing. Mighty Mouse is a fantastic champion. I think Paddy brings something different, and I think that fight is going to come in the next maybe 12 months or so.
It's going to happen.
But I think the flyweight division, there's room for people. And I think Ryan is an exciting fighter. I think maybe down the line they might have another tough, and I think if we can get him 5-0, 6-0, something like that. He would be he's such a character.
I would pay good money to see him in that house.
You know, he's such a character. He would fit right in, and he's talented. Well, I don't like saying talented because John doesn't like me saying talented. He's very skillful, and he works hard. So he would do well, I think. You know.
And before we let you go, UFC Dublin's coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get some of the other guys in and call them.
Yeah, definitely.
We've already had Ash on and maybe Neil Siri and these guys and get them to come in. What are you going to be doing for UFC Dublin? Are you going to go as a fan?
Yeah.
Are you going to go and
I've no tickets. I've no tickets. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just stand outside or something like, you know.
Wait to get recognised.
Yeah.
To bring you in.
I might try and just throw the pads on, do a little bit of that. They'll say, oh, you're a pad guy, you can go ahead. No, I've no tickets, so I'm going to try and get tickets first.
So you're not going to be working? Because you worked at Bama, you covered Jack McGann at Bama.
Yeah, I helped out Jack.
He ran through that lad.
Yeah, I Jack McGann, he comes over and trains in Primal. I know his dad well. And
Anthony McGann.
Yeah, and he comes over every now and then. He's a very good striker, Jack. He comes out and he helps the guys out with some boxing drills. He trains in a pro boxing gym over in the UK, and he asked me to do his corner and do some pads with him. I did, and he's a fantastic fighter as well, and he's one to watch out in the UK. He's one to watch out for, definitely. For any of the guys that were at Bama, he demolished a very good 9-2 Jack Grant. So
you said he was going to give him a boxing lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it didn't last very long. So yeah, he's a very good guy, and yeah. So I was at Bama and I was helping out there. So I would love to just go to watch the UFC. You know what I mean?
You haven't experienced it just as a fan?
No,
not in Dublin.
Not in Dublin. No, Jesus, not in Dublin. And yeah, because the both times they were over, I was cornering. So I'd love to just go, myself and Kelly, and just watch it and enjoy the show. And obviously the guys, a lot of the SBG guys are on, and some fantastic fighters on, fantastic Irish talent. So just go watch it, enjoy it, you know. So I would say, see if somebody can hook me up some tickets.
Bring me as well, will you?
Yeah, 3 tickets we need. You know.
Well, I have to say, it's been unbelievably pleasurable for me to watch the success that you've had just in the last 2.5 years alone. And it's not so much the success, it's the recognition for the shit that you've done and how you've done it. It's a pleasure to call you a friend, and it's an honour to have you as a coach.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it, man. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, so maybe we'll do it again sometime down the line.
Yeah, CM Punk, no.
Yeah, call him out, yeah. Yeah, but as I say, you'll have to jump in the queue because there's probably 100 people looking to fight CM Punk, you know.
Owen Roddy, thanks so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Mike.